Hey everybody, it's Bust, getting ready to play week 4 of the Tarjeta Draft League Season 2 in the NA division. And so we're currently 2-1. I believe there was like one or two other players that are 3-0, but a big collection of 2-1s. That's currently where we sit. Win this week would get us pretty close to making the top cut. I'm not entirely certain that it would make us a lock, but it will get us pretty close. And so, with that in mind, let's take a peek at the decks real quick before the battles begin. If you're not familiar with our decks, we'll pull them up really quick. We have a Bard Freylord deck, which I typically expect to get banned every time. It's got 3 copies of Bard, 3 copies of Bird, 3 copies of Esmuth, along with some of the really high-powered epics that you see out of Freylord. We have a Buried in the Ice and a Howling Abyss to go along with a pretty reasonable early game interactive package, just a lot of decent quality units to help stall to the late game. And then we have the big Overwhelm Freylord package to hopefully use to end out the game. If we aren't ending the game with Overwhelms, then we still have sweet stuff like the Howling Abyss. Deck number 2. Let's get that one pulled up. That is our Poppy deck. This is a Poppy Bandle City deck, really low to the ground, really aggro heavy, and then carrying a lot of unit boosters and a couple of rallies. And so if you're familiar with the typical Demacia-based Poppy Jarvan decks, we're looking to pull off something pretty similar to where we have the full 3 copies of Poppy, we have a couple rallies in the Golden Aegis and the Relentless Pursuit, we have a handful of ways to boost our units between Yordle Captain and Garen and Cytheria and a pretty reasonable early game collection of dudes. And so this is our powered deck that we tend to get to play every week. This is a pretty quality deck if you ask me. And I'm always happy to do battle with it. So we typically expect the Freylord deck to get banned, Poppy to survive. Everyone is banned, either one or the other of these the whole way along, and everyone makes us play what is our worst deck, if you will, in the PNZ Noxus deck. We're trying to piece together this really aggressive PNZ Noxus deck and tag it up with some burn spells to close out the game. Didn't exactly come together how we wanted. We do have some reasonable early champions, but the burn just never showed up. And where we found ourselves was using the more standard Noxus late game of Overwhelms, and so you'll find the likes of Captain Farron, Savage Reckoner, Captive Yeti, and the Battering Ram, but we also piece that up with the Kato the Arm, Shiraza the Blade combo, and so we're looking to have a pretty aggressive early game, and then either close out the game with a big Overwhelm, and Overwhelm boosted up with a Kato, or we have a handful of combat tricks like Elixir of Wrath, Brothers Bond, and the PNZ thing, Rising Spellforce, to get that additional combat damage in. Last but not least, if we can't get there with our combat damage, we still have 1 copy of Decimate, 2 copies of Shock Blast as a means to close out the game. But far and away our it's our weakest offering and our most high rolly offering, but it is the one with the most potential for excitement with the Shiraza the Blade combo. Everybody wants to see it. We haven't been able to pull it off yet, but we still got a few weeks of battles left, so hopefully you can pull it off at some point. And so, our opponent this week, EPICats, I got their 3 deck lists pulled up. They have a Demacia-only Jarvan list. This is a fairly scary deck. It has a good collection of interactivity. He has the spells you're looking for. He's got the single combat, the Cataclysm, and the Detain. He's also got pretty good combat tricks and a single rally here in Golden Aegis, but then it's backed up by this really strong Demacia Challenger package with the 3 Petrocyte Broadwings and 2 Laurent Proteges. I'm really not super interested in playing against this deck, but we have to take a peek at his other ones. My standard strategy through this entire event has been just ban Freylord, because my kind of thoughts on the matter are, as we play these limited games that do drag on until turn 8 and turn 9 and turn 10, they definitely last longer than you would have in Constructed. And then you just give your opponents more opportunities to say, oops, I win, with the likes of something like Feel the Rush or the Wrath of the Freylord. Freylord just has these big epics that come in and just automatically win the game. If they sometimes just automatically win the game, like Feel the Rush, but other times, if they get the opportunity just to sit around for a bit, it will end the game. Buried in the Ice is extremely powerful. Howling Abyss isn't here. We have it in our deck. Things like Wrath of the Freylord tend to close out games as well. And so I haven't been super excited about playing against these kind of oops, I win kind of things like Feel the Rush, but I think this is a space to where we're just going to have to deal with it. I'm really, really frightened of this Demacia deck. What I kind of try to think of in my head is how does this handle our Shiraza deck, right? The Shiraza deck is the one that we need to be able to come out and get a victory with, and I think we can do it here, right? He does have some cards that interact with us and cause us problems, like Brittle Steel shuts down the combo. But there's not a ton of cards here that really come in and shut it down. It's just going to be the Brittle Steel, the Will of Ionia, and then the Harsh Winds. And so we can kind of, fade that if we have to, but this just like all around spectacular start of having a just easy game curve of Broadwing into Protege into Vanguard Bannerman is just something I'm just not going to come out here and deal with. And so I'm planning on, so far, just banning Demacia in place of the Freylord deck. The last one he has here is a Bard plus Bilgewater deck. I would say that he would also agree that this is the weakest one of the decks he's brought. He's looking to bring a bit of the Sea Monsters package, as we're going to come down here and see. He does have a reasonable amount of it between Jawl Hunters and Abyssal Eye, and then 2 Devourer of the Depths, but I don't feel like it entirely came together. When we used to play Expedition, you were basically looking towards 2 separate Sea Monsters decks, right? You always wanted to be paired into Shadow Isles, and then you were either looking for a really heavy card draw centric version, typically based on Twisted Fate, and you would use Twisted Fate and Pull Sharks and the like just to churn through your deck as quickly as you can. But then you typically didn't play a whole lot of Sea Monsters. You would actually come out here and look to use Jawl Hunters to just generate Sea Monsters, because you didn't actually care what your Sea Monsters were. You just cared that you had some large dude to play once you hit deep. And Jawl Hunters would provide that for you. So you didn't have to go out of your way and worry about having to draft like half of a Sea Monsters deck, because we're just playing this card draw centric Twisted Fate thing that happens to have Sea Monsters in it. The other version would be involving Nautilus, and with Nautilus playing the actual Sea Monsters themselves. And it looks like this one is kind of a mixture between the two. It has like a little bit of the card draw, and it has a little bit of the Sea Monsters, but he doesn't have Nautilus. He's stuck here in Bilgewater only. And so the couple of things that we're going to have out of this is the Bilgewater interactivity is terrible, right? If we're going to try and do Shiraza combo, he's going to have to try and stop us with Make It Rains. He does have things like Tentacle Smash, which got nerfed between now and when the drafts happen. So Tentacle Smash used to be a lot stronger as a spawn 3. Now it's only a spawn 2. And there is the Riptide Sermon, which is incredibly powerful. But the long story short, what I feel like with this is the interactivity is bad. It doesn't take great advantage of the Bard package. And then the Sea Monsters are here. They are strong. But it's not a deck to where we have to worry about him turboing off on deep really quick. We do have to worry about the late game and the value coming out of these big elusives, and then the Dreadway searching up the single copy of Gangplank. But I think at the end of the day, this is the deck we're going to be able to abuse. This is the deck that all 3 of our decks are capable of beating, and the one that we're never going to ban. And so, right, we're going to come back here. We have, again, the choice between the high-powered Freylord deck, to where if things go late, we might just get Oops, I Win by a Feel the Rush, or we have to play this really consistent-looking, really strong-looking Demacia deck, and I'm just going to ban out the Demacia. And so we will be battling up against the Freylord number and the Bilgewater number. And so that's it. That's the deck list. Let's just go ahead, jump on in, and get ourselves ready for battle. All right, here we go. I think we got this set up. Where's it at? There we go. Got it. My sound ready. Thought things were a little odd. Here we go. Draft deck 1, draft deck 2, draft deck 3. Ready for battle. Opponent probably doesn't have this set up as wonderfully as we do. 1, 2, 3. You put a Z at the beginning of the name, so it's at the end of the list. Easy peasy. We really need to make the Kato deck number 1. That's the way to put it up on top. Whew, all right. We're going to be playing at a bit of a disadvantage in this one, though. If you're familiar with our cats, we can jump back into that one in just a minute here. Let's take a peek at these decks real quick. Again, I've got to ban out the Demacia deck. It still looks pretty strong. Triple Broadwing, double Protege. Don't really want to deal with this thing, but let's take a peek at these other two. And so this is the Bilgewater Bard deck. Has a reasonable early curve. I'm kind of surprised to see things like Watchful Idol in here because he didn't really piece together a ton of the package for Tentacles. He's actually just playing the Riptide Sermon. He's not even playing his Tentacle Slams, and so Watchful Idol's kind of an out there choice. Still has pretty reasonable early game, but not a lot of real high power here. I think we're okay with dealing with that one. And then in the Freylord deck, again, as you would expect, like the big epics are in here, Saiyan Thousand Tailed, Wrath of the Freylord, Buried in the Ice, Feel the Rush, but it's not as interactive as the other ones, right? You just got the Brittle Steel, Troll Chant, sure, Harsh Winds to stop our combos, but it looks kind of not like super focused in any of the strategies here, to where this like Demacia deck really came together. So, I think we're cool with that. No, my stupid cats, they eat my plants, and so I gotta spray this bitter stuff on it. It's supposed to make the cats eat it, and then they go, "Ooh, that's gross." But the downside to that is you still just have to eat the flavors, right? You spray the mist, and it gets kind of in the air and everything, and then turns out it's still bitter for humans. And so in the process of protecting my plants, I've got this sweet bitter taste in my mouth, and we gotta see if we can't use it to see if we can't overcome it. But all right, opponent picked their Freylord deck. Let's see how this starts off. We're of course starting with our Shiraz of the Blade combo deck. That's the way it's meant to be. But we'll mulligan for a little bit of an earlier start. Picking up Annie and Forge Chief is quite good. Reasonable sets of early game aggression. This is it feels a little safer with this kind of start as opposed to playing against the Bilgewater deck, right? The Poro Cannon Forge Chiefs would be suffering a little bit in the face of Make It Rains, but here we get to be protected from them. I don't think his deck was playing any AoEs. I honestly don't remember the entirety of the contents there, but I think we're okay. And then I'm going to lead out with the Forge Chief. I don't have too many 2-drops, and if we get stuck with one, it's a little unfortunate, but here we wouldn't want to be dropping the Trifarian anyways. All right. Reasonable enough trade. We're just going to punch as much damage as we can. We got to get out of here and win this game before his epics come online. All right. Annie's doing the work. All the 2-drops now. Okay. I don't imagine he'll attack with the Trapper end of our Grenadier. His only combat trick was the Brittle Steel. And if we have to trade a 1-mana card for a 2-mana card, it's not that big of a deal. Ooh. It's time for the main event. So we'll see here. The Trapper is a good block in the face of Annie, but I think I'm kind of okay with just giving up on her. And so, like, we'll see what opponent plays here in terms of spending their mana, but I'm kind of envisioning, at least right now, that we'll just discard the Spinning Axe to the Poro Cannon and attack with everyone. Get in that extra point of damage with the Poro, and then if he wants to take the value block onto Annie, fine. You know, you're still getting nugged for a ton of damage here, and we can... we have a pretty reasonable burn-heavy hand, and so I feel safe in those terms. A little worried seeing the Ember Maiden come down. It kind of messes with our 1 health unit plan. I'm curious if we ever attack and he just stops here. I think we just have to bring the attack at this point. Now, if we say he blocks Annie with the Trapper, he blocks our Grenadier with the Ember Maiden, and then plays a Troll Chant, I think we're still in a good spot. We just have to we just have to boost the Grenadier, and we'll still get a trade, still get to keep our Draven. I think that sounds fine. Okay. Big old blast of damage. The Ember Maiden, I mean, she doesn't kill anything here. So I feel at least a little safe in that regard. We don't have the most amazing of plays for the next turn, assuming that she just sits here forever. But we'll manage. Manage like this. Sometimes you just gotta send the Decimate right to the Nug. Uh-oh. the worry begins. But, I mean, this seems reasonable for an upcoming turn. Udyr's fine. He can't really attack with Udyr. We'll just block and he'll lose out. And then as far as this turn goes, we have a lot of elusives that we can just jam in, or we can add in the battering ram. And the ram is reasonable, but it's like we're to the point to where I'd feel a lot better just slamming in with the elusives. So let's add Teemo. He gives us some opportunity, so if he's like, oh fuck, I need to play the stance swap, then we can still kind of get out of this. I'm curious at what point the stance swap gets played. If we just say throw down Poro Cannon like number 1 and then have to attack, right? There's a little bit of gamesmanship in him trying to get maximum value out of the stance swap and then us putting our units on the board. Curious if he just tries to blow up Teemo right away. Our mana has been pretty awkward here. Uh-oh. Oh man, I've been using different emotes. It feels a little odd. So, I was expecting to have Salt Bay down here at the bottom left. It's the Rainbow Twisted Fate coming at us. All right, well, let's come into battle. Hopefully there's no more AoEs. I can't remember if his deck actually had an avalanche in it or not. But here we'll hook in the Udyr. It does present some problems, and that Udyr's going to strike, and then he's going to get a fresh stance swap in his hand. But at this point, if he really wants to do a 1 damage AoE at 2, I feel kind of okay with it, and then we're still set up to potentially win with the battering ram on our next attack. Gonna be like, and Shock Blast. It didn't turn up. Curious if we ever get popped by Buried in the Ice here. That would be, that's ultimately my worry against the Freylord decks, is we get our opponent down to pretty much dead. And then they're just like, LOL, Buried in the Ice. It starts to be a bit of a struggle. Okay. So we take him to 1. I guess he takes himself to 1. So he knows he can attack for free, but we have the block onto the Yeti to prevent a bunch of damage. At this point, ideally we'll just win with this Overwhelm. We have the Spinning Axe to give a +1 attack to the battering ram if we need to, but we're at least kind of looking at having a fallback plan of these Shock Blasts to still be able to close out this game, and we do have 5 Puff Caps in deck, so he's got to be over there squeezing butt cheeks right now. Oh boy, Sejuani. That's a problem. Punching in the damage. Oh boy, we might have to draw a burn here. Okay, so we still technically have a lethal if we look to Guile Sejuani, right? So if he can play some cards, we Guile Sejuani. She can't block. We attack with the battering ram. It goes up to 4, and then we can Spinning Axe through the combat. right? Assuming he blocks the battering ram with the Enraged Yeti. F. Alright, well, we're not entirely dead here, but we do need to get a blocker on board. Alright, Puffcaps, do your thing. We need... we need some help. Oh, dang. Probably dead. Very good chance we're dead on this turn now. I could see a world where maybe we should have attacked with battering ram, but that feels kind of meh. Okay, we're dead to the Sonic Wave. GG. So we could have approached that one a little bit differently, right? We had a few options in our trade there and in our sequencing. We elected to not play Annie on the first turn, which I'm still pretty okay with. We weren't going to attack with the Trifarian in the second one. I think the big one in that game was a matter of on that turn that we hooked Udyr, we had the option to leave him with the high-powered play in Udyr or go after the health in the Yeti. And I think that's still okay. He would have been leaving himself in a fairly similar spot to where he can just attack with Udyr the next turn. But it's pretty scary on the follow-up turn if he gets to attack with Udyr and have a combat trick. And so I think I'm still pretty happy with that. We did lose out all of our small burrows to the AoEs, but at the end of the day, I think that worked out pretty reasonably. This week just a little bit short on the damage. Couldn't find that sweet puff cap to make it all end. But we'll get another shot with the puff caps here. Pretty reasonably aggressive draw. There's not too much in the deck that can interact with this. And uh-oh. Uh-oh, do y'all see what's happened? We drew the combo. And so we have to go for it, right? We have to go for it. If you're not familiar with the combo, Shiraza does double damage to the Nexus. And so we can give her Overwhelm and +3 attack with Kato. And then with the Rising Spell Force, we can make Shiraza a 10 power Overwhelmer and really bring in the magic. And so I'm gonna 3-bank here. Go ahead and take our open. Even without access to the combo, I think I would still be pretty okay with it. In that our only play this turn would be a Crush Bot. And I don't really want to play a Crush Bot into like any random 3/3, right? If opponent plays a 3/3 for 3, then the Crush Bot and our small unit are just going to get blown up. And so I think this is fine. The thing we're going to have to watch out for is if he has Riptide Tentacle, whatever the 6th cost tentacle thing is called. Oh my god, he's gonna have it, isn't he? Fuck. What a lame-o, dude. What a lame-o. Alright, we'll just let this happen. We're still gonna have an exceptionally strong attack next turn. And I want to be able to protect our Kato with these Rising Spell Forces. So lame. I was really kind of counting on us at some point in this event being able to pull off the combo. We're out here playing against the... Oh my god, are you serious? Oh, this is so bad now. Okay. I think we can still look to attack. Right, without our Kato, this unit isn't very impressive. And we have the mana still next turn to pull off a Shock Blast plus Draven. And so... not terrible. We need to pop off something good before the chimes really start to hit, right? He's got the Bard in his deck. He's loading up in chimes, and so as the game progresses, we're going to struggle more and more. I'm heartbroken. I'm heartbroken we didn't get to do the combo. I don't care win or lose. I just want to get that Kato Shiraza attack in before it's all said and done. It was our one opportunity. Dang, I'm sad. My day is ruined. So he's going to pull Shark up next turn. Feels a little bit like a bait. Let's just come in with the Crush Bot for the moment. See if he comes in with an attack or if he wants to spend on like a Abyssal Eye. There we go. Don't want to deal with those. So who's the more important play here? The Esmuth or the strong unit, the 4-2? It's probably the 4-2. I guess he can like technically attack at this point, but it doesn't look that strong. Okay. You've been weakened, Crushbot. Most aggressive unit 2022. Golden Crushbot. Alright, well we can get some big boys down here. If we want to give up on the idea of Rising Spellforce and then only have access to Elixir of Wrath, I think this is okay. The units he's added to the board don't stop anything that we're doing. Now Jawl Hunters comes in. Okay. Really need a big Overwhelm or a Kato the Arm here, just to make some usage out of all of these bonus attack cards. All right, he's gonna start hitting some chimes eventually. They got to be a little bit worried about that. There's one. All right, here's our Kato ready to party. How much damage can we deliver with the Kato, right? We've got plus 11. He's up to 14. Non-zero chance of hitting a lethal. 15 with the spinning axes. Again, there isn't a ton of interactivity. I don't remember the full package that they had in their deck. They might have another card that like delivers vulnerable. Shakedown. But they only had the one Riptide Sermon and then no Tentacle Slams. And so I think their removal suite is just kind of limited to Make It Rain at this point. I am afraid we're going to have to kind of fuck around and find out. He's being clever here and playing slow, but like what interactivity is left to deal with Kato? Has to be a Shakedown. But if we need to be spending, 7 mana next turn, we can't just like camp on Kato and hope that he has, enough mana spend for the next round. Ooh, glad to see that Chum the Waters roll away. That would have been another way to come out and ruin our day. Does this hit health? Fuck me. Obliterate an enemy with less health than me. Yep. Sad days. So we're really limited now. We have to be hitting a Captain Farron or one of these big overwhelms to try and punch through this one. Let's get the decent blocks where we can. All right, let's see what we can do. Gotta find something. Daring Poro. Daring Poro, you're close. You're close. He's got an Esmuth block, but maybe if we Spinning Axe through this Esmuth, we can surprise him next turn with a big Rising Spellforce attack. I mean, I think I'm okay with just passing it back here. It's like we're rarely getting anything done on this turn, and him giving up 8 mana is a pretty big deal. Oh boy. Okay. All right. We're gonna have to block where we can. Might just be lethaled out of this. This is why I like to come out and just ban the Freylord decks. I know we're drawing like pretty thin here, but The Freylord just has so many ridiculous epics like the Dreadway that I just don't want to play against it, right? If this is just kind of a rando normal 8-drop like Savage Reckoner, then we kind of have some game against it, but this is the big reason the Freylord ban comes into action. All right, though. Let's see. This would drop us to 1. I mean, is this Teemo ever realistically going to do anything? We're out of Kato the Arms. We have to just pick up a Overwhelm unit at this point. So let's at least make sure we don't die to make it rain. All right, deck, you can do it. Bring in that serious heat, that serious thunder. What can we do? We can do +9 on the attack. So if we hit Savage Reckoner, we might be okay. But it's got to be a good one. It's not going to do it. So we have been bested. We have been felled. Our Kato the Arm deck is not being a winner this time. I think that's what it's come down to every time. We've our 2 losses in the event have been 0-2s with the Shiraz at the Blade deck, and it's tough. It's a tough one to beat. I feel like that first game we could have done it a little bit differently, but I feel like when we're taking our bad deck up against their bad deck, that Riptide Sermon was kind of over the top crushing, right? That interactivity package was a little tough to deal with and expect. And so, well played though. GG's EPICats. Best of luck in the future weeks, and we'll see if we can't win in week 5, potentially slide our way in for the top cut. And so that is it for week 4. Good set of battles. Again, welcome. Again, congrats to EPICats. Nice victory on your end. Good games all around, and that'll do it for this week. And so, again, if you are interested in playing in the Tarjeta Draft League, you can visit tarjeta.gg. That'll give you all the information you need to find how to play in the next season and the goings-ons with this current one. And we hope to see you there. Otherwise, I hope everyone enjoyed the video, maybe learned a thing or two along the way, and had a good time watching. This is Bust, and we thank you for being here.